You know, I probably have a problem here because all I seem to want to do is do art, spend the morning kind of playing some games. Then I kind of got to the point where I was like, I just want to finish this piece. I just want to do more on it. I don't even have a game plan. I don't have any idea what I'm gonna do. I just figured, yeah, forget it. I may as well get in there and do some stuff. Hey, you two, how you doing? Also, anybody that's watching the VOD, hello, good to see you. I don't have much of a game plan. I just know that I want to get more of this done. All right, it's mostly gold and black for his armor design, so I guess I'll just do flats next. That's kind of like the next thing. Um, yeah. What's this layer? There's nothing even on there. There's nothing even there. I'm gonna delete that. I don't need that. Ah, bother. I feel somewhat better, but yet still not great. It's kind of weird. It's like it's one of those peaks where it's not getting worse, it's getting better, but it's like that weird in between phase where like the sinus infection or head cold or whatever is kind of barreling down. Which in all respects, head cold much better than the flu. Much better than the flu. So, I'll take that. It just sucks because you can't work out when you have a head cold either. That's my test layer. Let's do a Zale first. Let's go ahead and get his flats in. Oh, man. I'm both tired and not tired. Alright. Let's go ahead and start doing that. Yeah, flu's no ton. Okay, so flats are basically your plain colors. So the first thing that we've got here is like kind of like our starting flat layer where everything's kind of just one color. For comic book artists, for illustrators and stuff like that, we tend to call them flats because flats are just the flat base colors without any gradation or any shadows or anything like that. There's people whose entire job is taking that line art of that, and they just have to go ahead and at like separate like I did here. So you notice how like all the different characters, like this is red, this is purple, this is black, they're all in separate layers, so that way a colorist can come in and just go ahead and go directly in and like color it how it's supposed to be for like Spider-Man. Like say you were doing a Marvel Comics comic book, you'd be getting a comic panel and it'd just be inks everywhere. Now someone's job is just to create a bunch of different layers, like one is for Spider-Man, one is for Hulk, one is for Captain America, and it just separates it so it's like something that the colorist doesn't have to do, and the colors can go straight into shadows and gradations and all that other stuff and do all their fancy, color theory work. But yeah, that's basically what flats are. Now, sometimes when I'm doing flats, I'll kind of separate them a little bit just to start off, and then I'll eventually flatten them. So like say the character's a couple different colors, like I don't know what the gold I'm gonna want yet is, so I might paint that. I'm gonna keep this on a separate layer first. Luckily I don't really need smoothing anymore. This is kind of one of those phases that can go fairly quickly, but it kind of just depends. Depends on a lot of different factors. Why are you chugging, brush? Is this file getting too big for you? Could be. Could be. No, I don't have anything else open, so probably just the auto smoothing that comes with this program. I could probably turn that off if I wanted. But yeah, I hope that explains what flats are. Let's see, grab that. I'm just gonna go over and find all the different gold stuff on his character and just kind of put that all on a separate part. That'll remain black. There we go. I'm just grabbing that main layer so I can kind of do this. Eventually I'll combine them all once I'm happy. But especially with gold and metal and stuff, I like to make it on a separate layer, because then I can add some like texture to it versus different, like, you know, I won't put that texture on a piece of cloth or anything like that. Oh. Music's really quiet? Okay. Let me turn it up then. How about there? Is that better? Let me check. Okay, cool. So I was trying a different setup, so I can't really hear it on my end at the moment. Just giving my head a rest from music and stuff like that, so I didn't notice it was too low or whatnot. So I just have like the headphones sitting next to me. Probably should have checked that first though. My bad. And I just kind of find all the different gold parts and just slowly kind of go through, kind of looking back at my reference here and there. Nice. And I'll just look at my reference as I'm going, just to be like, alright, that's kind of where all the different gold stuff is. And I'll add different shades and stuff like that as we're going. But for now, that's good enough. Looks like all that's kind of the same shade. Get that in there and just keep on working at it. Some of these things I can isolate a little bit by going and grabbing certain sections, but based on the way that I inked it, it's going to be a little hard to do that because it's not all separated. But that's okay. It'll still work in my favor. There we go. Flip that. Take that out. Okay. Move this over a little bit. And just keep on working. I'll have to find ways of making certain portions different shades of gray and different shades of black and stuff like that. It's one of the challenges when it's an all black, mostly black armor, but it's a fun challenge. Also, the color phase allows me to start seeing like if there's mistakes. Like right here, I feel like I need to add some inks there, but I can do that in a minute. Grab that. There we go. But yeah, I just want to isolate everywhere that has a little bit of gold in it and kind of make that all in separate layers if possible. Grab that. A little bit here. Where else is there gold on that armor? Right here. Nice. There we go. Okay. This is mostly a white staff. Nice. I kind of miss the weaving that that ninja used to have, but I understand them changing it. It makes sense because if you don't live in California, dealing with those old timer issues was a pain in the butt. I know my friend who lives on the East Coast was really happy because he could finally play ninja again. So I think overall it's a positive change for the class. I just miss my weaving. The weaving was a lot of fun. But the class is still fun as it is. I was playing my Dark Knight earlier today, doing a bunch of fates, doing a bunch of other stuff like that. Got to like 75, got my trusts all above 75. Slowly working through that. Yeah. Weaving was really hard in Canada and stuff like that. That's why it was a good change. Like, they finally got into a place where it can work nicely for the other people who, or for the majority of people that play 14. When people told me that was their gripe with it, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I understand that then. Alright. This boy has kind of, not palish skin. Like peachish color skin. I want to make it a little bit more. Yeah, that's better. This is technically on my gold layer, but that's okay. The colors are distinct enough that it won't make too much of a difference. Yeah, he's got blue hair. Start isolating and grabbing this stuff. That's his hair, 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 hair. More hair. It's a hairy boy. Grab this. Grab that. There we go. Occasionally, it won't be able to grab the little bits and bobs around here, so occasionally you're gonna have to go in with the magic wand and grab certain sections. Or it'll overcut or something like that, which happens when you use the expansion thing, but if you don't expand it at all, you won't even get close. And it just depends on how thin the line work is. Like for instance, like a lot of stuff right here I have to kind of grab, which is occasionally why I will do it on separate layers just for a little bit. It also makes painting underneath a little bit easier. And just changing, like if I don't like that color of blue for his hair, I can change that later without having to change other stuff. There's a lot of pixelation that kind of can happen every now and then because of it. Like his hair is going to be a bit of a darker blue, but now that I've kind of got this isolated on one, I'll go ahead and grab this because I want a little bit of that deeper blue for his hairstyle. A little bit of that Noctis in him. This comes out a little bit more purple than blue. Get you more along here. That's more like it. And then I'll take a brush and just start kind of darkening the edges a little bit. But you can already see like there's a couple of spots like here and here that didn't get grabbed. That looks better. And there's one up in the corner right here too. But yeah, this is basically the flat layers, but since I made this on the hair, I can go ahead and switch back to a darker black, go back to my Wuzzle brush. The reason it's called Wuzzles is because that was a company I worked for a little bit who helped me in, who I started using this brush with on their projects. And, you know, I just started adopting it for a lot of my other stuff because I like the settings. It's a nice soft brush. I've yet to find one that I like a little bit better. And then like for this, I'm going to go ahead and lighten it up a little bit. Same thing. Go to this, lower the opacity. Might grab a little bit of red and throw that in there. Eventually do the nose and stuff like that. Makotes have a little bit. I don't miss when the servers are in Montreal. Montreal was way too far away. Which is funny because, like, you know, that's the same thing. People on the East Coast were like super bummed when it got moved all the way to Sacramento. And I was like, yeah! But I also understood. I was like, oh yeah, that's gotta suck for people that have been used to it for a while. Feels like they've made a nice solution though, in terms of a lot of this stuff. A little too yellow. There we go. Can't make it pure white because then it won't grab any of my shadows. So I gotta make it usually like a little bit of an off-white color. I tend to like to use a little bit of a blue when I'm doing it. Yeah, it would make sense. I think the reason why they did that and put it in Sacramento is probably so, you know, I honestly don't know. First I was gonna say it was more central, but it's not really. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why they. It would have made more sense to put it in the Midwest, honestly, somewhere in like Chicago. Somewhere in Illinois or something like that. But I guess they got a better deal here in, on the West Coast, which not too surprising. There's a lot of tech companies here and stuff like that. 14 team probably would have liked to put it closer, but it probably came down to just a business decision with Square. Which is a bit of a bummer, but I understand. Nope, that's not that. Where's that? Oh, this should go behind. That's better. I know, I think original 11 servers were in Montreal as well. So I think when they were first setting it up, they were just using 11 as like a base proxy for it in a lot of ways. All right. Oof. Shortcuts, why are you doing that? Edit, keyboard shortcuts, not modify. Yeah, use mine. Yeah, use the eyedropper with I, like I want it to. Freaking weirdos. Alright. Let's get his fur in there. Not his fur, but the fur on the armor. You know, I'll just do this as one. This is where the drawing definitely starts coming alive, in my opinion. Like, the sketch for sure, but in terms of, like, really breathing life into it, this always feels like the stage to me. This is when the characters start popping. It's like we're in the third quarter of a basketball game. Things start hyping up. Things start looking like you're gonna know who's gonna win the game. Fourth quarter for art is kind of just finishing touches, where it's like the special effects and all that other kind of stuff. But we'll see how far we get on this tonight. I'm hoping that it's nearly all the flats. All the flats should be done. Shadows, and then the next time will just be special effects and stuff. But yeah, this should look really cool when it's all said and done. I'll combine that. I should be able to isolate and grab those golds pretty easily. This collar's mostly gold. Bold fashion statement, yeah. Warriors do tend to be that, have more animalistic qualities. I was talking to him, the guy that they commissioned this, and I agree with him. I love fur on armor design. I think it looks rad. The only thing that bothers me about some of 14's designs or stuff like that is not so much the designs they have, but there's like a couple of fur armors in the game that have like midriffs or like an open chest thing like that to me just looks goofy on male characters. Some male characters love it, and that's fine, but there's like the war egg armor you can get from like one of the newest dungeons. I'm like, oh, that looks really cool, and it's got that weird open diamond chest thing above, like the underneath the collarbone, that just kind of throws off the whole design. I'm like, on a female character, I'm sure there's a lot of appeal on there, but on a male character, I want it closed up. Hell, I'd want it closed on a female character too. But yeah, there's always like some weird like midriff design occasionally. I'm just like, that was a good armor, and now it's ruined. And to other people though, I'm sure it's exactly what they want. No, it really doesn't. That was one of the funniest things that they adjusted. In the original Dragoon armor for females, they had a midriff just opened up in their armor, and everyone was just like, this is stupid. Why would you have that open and displayed? Like, that's your stomach and your vital organs. Why would you allow yourself to be speared in there? And then from that, they never adjusted that, but ever since that armor kind of sparked debate, they're like, yeah, that is kind of dumb. So they started changing that up. They started like actually just keeping the female Dragoon armor, less sexualized, I guess is the way to put it, and made it more actual armor. Which makes perfect sense, because that should be the idea. Like, it's fun to have like the swimsuits and stuff like that, or like the sexy armors every now and then. I do like that 14 has become is far more practical with their armors now. I mean, yeah, sure, you can still run around in a glamour of a bikini, but or in a vagabond subligar, but I do like that they've become a bit more practical with that stuff. There's nothing wrong with having the impractical armors, but it's nice to have a choice. I will say, they don't do it with their main characters, though. At all. I haven't seen them really kind of pull that off. Male Rose and Star Spangled Subligars? That's just tradition. As is tradition since Final Fantasy XI. Let the Subligars roam the earth. The one thing I don't like is there's this guy on my server that's in a subligar. It's a Makote, and all he does is he's always AFK in a subligar in the Weaver hat, and he just dances in front of the pathway to the Limsa Laminsa market board or to Yulemore's main thing, and he's just AFK all the time. I never see him play. And now you might say, why do you have a grudge against this guy? Well, you see, I've been playing the game since launch. He's been doing this since launch. I swear to God, I don't know when that guy plays the game. I think he owns an account just so he can troll people. He's been spending hundreds of dollars a year just to troll people. Now you might say, that's commitment. That's dedication to the joke. Yes, if he wasn't an inconvenience to everybody and doing it just to be an attention whore, that'd be different. He's not just dancing in the random nowhere. He always does it in the most obvious places. It's just like, God, you're so annoying. If there's one account that I could ban, it'd be that guy. He's not doing anything harmless, but it's really annoying. Years of just walking into Limsa and be like, oh, it's that guy again. Great. Does he ever log off? Does his computer ever turn off? I've never not seen him. What a dork. Yeah, he's not doing anything harmless. Yeah, this guy doesn't spam chat. He just does a dance on loop in the middle of like the walkway to go into the markets in a subligar, naked, and just doing it to troll. Like, he just did the most trolly dances and just leaves his character on all the time. He's been doing it since 2.1 or something like that. It'd be one thing if he was doing it in like one of the town squares or whatever, but he does it like immediately, like right in the walkway, so everyone has to see him as they pass through. Or like, I wish there was a way it's like, if you blacklisted a character, could they just not appear on your screen? That'd be great. He's the one guy I have a gripe with in all of 14. I guess I should make the inside of this coat some kind of color. Maybe I'll give it a little bit of red tinge to it. Let's see. I only have one alternate, but I dig it. I'll play on him occasionally every now and then just for funs and giggles. But nothing too serious with that account for sure. That needs to be gold as well. There we go. Take that off. And take that off. Get a little bit of gold out of there. Cool. Need to do his legs now. You know what? I can actually just do this. Grab that. Let's go ahead and get a darker shade of you going on. Made the ugliest male Lalafell possible because people kept trying to sexualize Lalafells on my server, and it is creepy. Well, I mean, yes, that is creepy, but also Lalafells reproduce, so, and a lot of them are adults. So in the 14 universe, it does happen technically. It is creepy though. It's a part of the lore I tend to be like, yep, that's a thing. Alright, moving on. That's another reason why I paint on layers, because then I can kind of paint behind stuff and not have to worry that much. Especially when I want certain parts of the armor to be a little bit darker than others. Helps me isolate some of those parts. Probably want to do like some silver, or maybe even some gold kind of on there. It looks like I can just make this darker. There we go. That goes behind it. And that's why eventually those get combined. But for now, no, yeah, people do it for creepy reasons. I was just pointing out the thing that's actually a thing. No, I prefer to not I prefer not to ERP in my MMOs. That's just me though. If you want to do it, go for it. Me personally, I tend to avoid it. But that's a personal choice. Alright, I feel like some of this armor needs some kind of like silvered spots. Definitely changed his legs a little bit, but that's okay. I wanted to simplify some of it. But no, I'm with you. There's no need to do that. Gets in that territory that best not be said, you know? Best not be done is more like it. Yeah. Even arguing makes it more creepy. I'm with you. I'm with you guys on that. Ah. That makes sense. That makes sense. This armor design has some kind of like triangle patterns in it. I kind of add some of that in there. I definitely changed his leg designs a little bit, but honestly I just wanted to simplify some of it. 14's armor has so much detail, and I know there's some anime artists that really like to throw in that stuff in there, but I definitely reach a point of saturation with that kind of stuff. My style is not one for like overabundance of detail. Mostly because painters can kind of get away with that. I'm always impressed by the anime artists that can do that extra level. But, I don't know. There gets a certain point in a drawing where I'm like, maybe that's enough. Maybe I don't need any more. I'm going to add a little bit in here, though, for continuity. Just add a little bit more. Nothing wrong with more detail. And I can make it, you know, so it fits all that continuity if I really wanted to, but like I said, there's a level of boredom that for me that starts to appear at a certain point. Let's add some little rivets and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, it does kind of, if you have to justify something being creepy, it's probably creepy. It's funny, I actually found myself playing Pokemon today for a little bit, still trying to level it up for my kid that I tutor. Got past Kabu, like I said yesterday. Started doing a bunch of Dynamax ones. Dynamax is actually pretty cool. I haven't done a lot, especially since me and Chris never did a lot while we were recording. It was interesting. Milkshakes, that's pretty awesome. Nice. Yeah, I remember my brother played Mystery Dungeon back when it came out, way back in the day, and I know this is the remake, and I remember him really liking it at the time. I don't know if he'd be into it this time around, though. I'd have to ask him. You know what, this is probably still fur here. Could actually be actually that's probably inside of, I'd say, a collar, but it doesn't really have that. I might actually just fill that in with black now that I think about it. I could get away with that pretty easily. I think it might make it more dynamic. Kind of plays in that Heaven's Word kind of mentality. That's another trick, which you can occasionally use in illustration. Depends on your style. Mine being heavily influenced by Mike Mignola, and you don't want to use it too much. But it's a nice way of honestly kind of hiding stuff every now and then. You're like, I'll hide some of this anatomy by doing this. And there's enough here. But it also just adds some nice contrast and really just kind of boosts that a little bit more. Alright, that's his blue. That's the silver. Silver. Let's erase that. And let's go ahead and add these in again. And put some tea in a thermos too, so that should help for a while. Fortunately, all it is just like one nostril is just kind of plugged up and giving me a bit of a sinus headache. Which is annoying, but not enough for me to want to just sit around and do nothing all day. And all I can think about this piece is this piece. I just want to finish it. Not because I'm tired of working on it, just I'm excited to see what it looks like when it's done. So that's the main thing, honestly. Like, I know we could probably have more people with us right now if I space these out a little bit more. But that's okay. I'm happy with you guys that are here. And anyone that's watching on the VOD. It's nice to have company while I'm working on art. If I wasn't saving for my commissioner, I'd pick it up just to replay it because how pretty it is. Yeah. I'm sorry about that, by the way. I could have sworn that when I sent that original email, I had told you, like, yeah, I thought it was on your end for the longest time. And rereading that email, it's like, nope, that was me. That was something I was supposed to do. So I'm sorry about that. I think I just got distracted. I'm not sure by what. But I definitely got distracted, so my bad. I'm usually much better about that stuff. But yeah, like I told you, if you want to, like, once this one is finished, if you want to do it in, like, payments, that's fine too. That's one of the things I do with my commissioned illustrations. So I'll give clients the option of, like, doing it in payments as well, because I know it can be kind of expensive, so it'll be like, I'll be like, okay, hey, it's this much money, give me a third of it up front before I start, and then just as, like, typically why illustrators do that, and I'll never start a job unless I get paid a little bit up front, just because I've been screwed. I've had friends that have been screwed before, and I've almost been screwed before too by other people in terms of getting payments. Now that doesn't apply to you, Valentara, not at all. That's just a rule of thumb that I've done since I first started illustrating, is like, nope, there's, like, especially if it's a big project, I will make sure that, like, people pay me a certain amount before I start. Which I always recommend to all illustrators or any freelancer. Always get a portion of it up front. Don't ever start a job before getting paid anything. Because if you're worth being hired, they're worth trusting, you know, they should trust you enough to pay you at least a third of it up front, if not half, off the bat. Because if they're not willing to do that, like, then they probably don't have the cash to pay you the full thing anyways, so don't bother with it then. I've had a couple of friends that when they were early in their careers, they kind of started off and would just, like, not take the payment yet, and then they'd struggle to get it. Like, I've had jobs, it was like 2 jobs ago. It was for a decently sized company, but they ran into a bunch of troubles with, like, one of their main people. It was a small company getting injured, so, like, they were all behind on business and stuff like that, and it just took forever for me to get the work to eventually get paid. So I had to constantly hound them, and they paid well, paid decently, but it wasn't worth me continuing to work with them because it just took too much. Like, it took way too much time. Maybe not bust your kneecaps, Kaiza, but definitely send you nice emails every week until you fucking pay me my money. That's more so definitely what it's gonna be. I don't work for free. Well, that's not true. All the stuff I do for 10 more minutes is basically free. I was joking with Chris the other day. It's like, yeah, you can't even afford me. He's like, nope, no, I can't. But I love doing this stuff for 10 more minutes. And that's a personal project, so that's different. And yeah, not saying we don't make any money off 10 more minutes. You guys have made it possible for us to make anything off of it. I was just joking with them because we both know, like, at my rates, it's like, nah. Couldn't afford to pay me for all the stuff that I've done for the channel, but I've loved every minute of it too. It's really pushed my art into new directions. The channel's been a great way of a lot of creative, lots of creative freedom and lots of ways of making it so I can, like, really push myself in different ways. Like, I wouldn't have done nearly as much animation. You guys wouldn't be here if I hadn't started the channel with Chris and them, or if Chris hadn't started the channel and brought me on board. So I'm very grateful for that. Him and Jen are chilling out watching BoJack Horseman right now. I need to watch that show at some point. My brother really likes it. Nice emos that gradually get more passive aggressive. Nah, I keep it very non-aggressive because I've learned. I mean, I just know from dealing with people that you can never really, if you're aggressive with people, it's not good. So like when I was dealing with that company, I would just email them every week like, hey, what's the update? When am I going to get the revisions? So that way you guys can pay me. Because sometimes a company is just in over their head. Sometimes they're not dodging you. Like this company wasn't dodging me. They were just so far behind on everything that, you know, getting the person that could do my revisions is just taking forever to get back. So it was just a giant mess. I have no ill will against that company, but I didn't try and ask them for work again after, just because one of the bosses was super stressed out about stuff. And he just wasn't the easiest guy to work with. One of the boss that I was working with was great, and he was a good dude. But the other dude was way too meticulous to a degree. I'm like, dude, you don't pay me that much, and I'm dropping you some killer work here. You know, just because one or two things isn't absolutely perfect, you think you need to reevaluate some stuff. But in the end, it was a really good project. I really enjoyed working on it. At some point, I'll have to put it on my portfolio. I need to email them at some point and ask them when I can. Because I don't know when any of that stuff's going live. But as you can see, Blue, this is kind of the flat stage that I was talking about. So more and more of it's kind of starting to come to life. Oop, that's on it. That switched layers. But more of it's starting to kind of come to life. And, you know, it's still far away. But, you know, more of it's getting there. Yeah. And so then once you turn on the shadow layers and stuff like that, that starts to make more of it kind of come together. Now, there's still a lot to do in here and a lot of stuff to add. But that's the big difference. I think I'm going to keep the inside of that cape with like a dark, probably like a dark blue, honestly. You can't get that on the actual cape in game, but I think it's fitting. And the shadow will kind of change that a little bit. Oop. Yeah, a lot of it's gonna come in adding different little things here and there. But I keep most of the flats separate, and eventually I'll just combine them all. Eventually. But it helps for stuff like this. In the beginning, at least. Using soft brushes and stuff like that to kind of get in like the ear shapes, etc., etc. Eventually I'll color some of the lines too. Alright. I think I'm gonna do... I think I need to do a little multiply layer, do a little bit of more, add a darker color to some of this stuff. I don't want that brush. I want my Wuzzles brush. Main purpose of this is I'm going to isolate some of the parts that are gold, and the armor design has that too. But it's like what I do with the 10 more minutes logo. When I'm doing stuff that's in gold, I tend to like adding accents of like deeper gold lines, I guess is the way to put it. And this color could change too. The main thing for keeping them separate is it allows me to change them based on sliders and stuff like that later on. So like if this ends up not being the shade of color I want, I can change it. And even just doing this right now, I'm wondering if I think I want to have it almost the opposite. No, I want to have this be this way too. And I can make it be less dark and stuff like that. Well, it is only 3 characters, Valentar, and most of the background you won't really see too much just because Brute Justice is going to be in the main thing. That's why I gave you a ballpark figure. It'll probably be towards that upper end. But, you know, it depends. Like, based on who the client is, too, changes what my price is going to be in ways as well. So, like, I have different price scales based on the entity of who is commissioning me. And also the complexity of it, too, you know? Overall, like, 3 characters is really not too bad. Like, this commission... So, like, if we were to break this down, you could take... My hourly rate is usually... It's typically around $40 to $35. Depending on who it is. Typically. But that can change. Depends on how advanced stuff is. So you could do the math on your own of how many hours I've spent on this. And that would be about what I would charge normally. So like this would be closer to like, you know, probably like $1,000 illustration or something like that. Kind of like the stuff that I did for Chris's D&D campaigns. Now I don't charge him that because it's his birthday. And I do those for the group and for fun. And just to test myself. But that's how I typically base my pay rate scale and stuff like that. Because, you know, I have to pay taxes on stuff and I have to do all this other garbage. I just gotta make sure it's, you know, I only have so much time in this world. So I want to make sure that if I'm getting paid to do something, it's, you know, something A, I want to do. And B, something that's worth the time and all the effort. Because I could always be putting it into my own projects. Which is always like a balance thing. Where's that still? Ah, there it is. But your commission sounds fun. I'm excited to do that. And the cool thing about commissions too, I haven't checked chat in a second, but the cool thing about commissions is they force you to draw things that you normally wouldn't do. And I think that's fun in a way because it's forcing you to kind of test your muscles again on like different stuff. So I'm always down for like doing commissions and stuff like that. They're fun. Forcing me to draw characters that I wouldn't normally draw or stuff like that. Alright. This is blue. What's this? That's that. Okay. Yeah. And that's what I try to do. How frequently do you get bigger commissions like this one? Not too often for big ones like this. I teach so much that I don't get commissions as often as I would like, but I do have a slew of them kind of popping up. I'd say big ones like this pop up every month or two, like every other month or something like that. How many go through changes though. I have a decent one that's about this, that's like this. That's about around 1,000 to do it. Something like that. But yeah, it comes down just to the hours. More so than anything. Like, if it was possible to do this in a few hours, maybe, but it's just not. To get like this level of detail, even with as fast as I am. Now, if I wasn't streaming, it could probably be a little bit faster. Because I wouldn't be talking, but it's honestly not much different. It's about that same thing. And truthfully, like, if you take it into thought, like most of the couchlings you guys get are out of steel. You know, charge way less for my rates for that, but that's because you guys continue to stick around and support the channel. And you know, so I want to make something that you guys will be proud of and that I'll be proud of. So there's multiple reasons. So yeah, like the couchlings are at a much lower rate than they should be. But, you know, you guys stick around for different rewards, which is why, you know, it evens out over time. And I'm more than happy to do them at the rate that they're currently at, because they're not too much extra time. And typically it's on me too. I'm the one that spends. You guys don't dictate sometimes some of the extra stuff that I do. You guys don't come in asking for all this extra stuff. I just do it because I want to. Like, Kaiser didn't ask for that crazy background. I did that because I fucking love Darkest Dungeon. And I was like, hell yeah. This is a Darkest Dungeon couchling? I'm totally doing a background for this shit. You know? That's why a background popped up for that. That was the main reason. Because I just wanted to. I was like, this sounds rad. And that's the fun thing. We don't get too many couchlings per month. So it slowed down a little bit. So when I only have like one on my plate, I can really kind of just go a little nuts and add a bunch of, kind of go a little bit over the top. Now if I had to do like 5 in a week, that backgrounds would probably be not as crazy or not as intense, you know? Probably change to be a little bit more simplified. At the same time, I would still give it my very best effort though. But yeah, art's expensive, and I think the reason why a lot of people don't understand why art's so expensive is because some artists just don't break down how long it takes them to do art. How much would couchlings be if it was normal commission? Well, they usually take about 2 to about 3 hours, and about, you know, my hourly rate is usually around 40 to 35. So, you know, probably like to do that. And then I do all the video editing for that too. Chris doesn't do that. So you're looking at 4 or 5 hours. Like, it's probably like a $200 illustration or something like that, somewhere in that ballpark, because of the videos and stuff as well. But you guys continue to support the channel and remain patrons, so it evens out. And like I said, I want to create something that both you and I am proud of, and I just have a lot of fun making them. But yeah, it all just comes down to the hours in the day, because, you know, we only all have so many hours of free time. And this one, like, for Azael, he didn't ask for all this detail, but he's been a good friend of mine for a long time. You know, I've known this dude through 14 for about 5 years now. And he's been a really good friend, so. I still really like yours too, Blue. Blue, yours was like the very first one. I was like, okay, I figured out how I wanted to do couchlings. Like, because you were one of the very first ones, it was really like where I found my footing on, like, okay, I kind of know how I want to design them from here. So yours was definitely kind of like that turning point very early on of how to do it. And then as I started getting towards Valentara's, I started figuring out more of like the inking style. And then by Kaisa's, it really felt like, all right, I know exactly how to kind of illustrate these guys in a mannered time that provides like a really great product and is also not too much of a burden on myself. Because, like, I mean, if I knew if Kaiser's was going to take like 8 hours, I wouldn't do it. But I know that strategically I can make that illustration only take around 3 hours to make. And around 3 hours, that's fine. You know, that's a fine amount of, like, for that kind of stuff. And, you know, we also get more out of it too, because I get to take those illustrations, we make them in the videos, and they go up on YouTube, and that becomes advertisement for the channel. an advertisement for couchlings, you know, allowing more people to see us and stuff like that. So there's multiple folds and multiple, you know, reasons behind that stuff. And I feel that's fair to share with you guys because I like to be transparent with my clients and, you know, our people that follow the channel and, you know, hang out with us here on streams and stuff like that. Oh, it looks like it has a little bit of dark brown in there too, in that bottom portion. Yeah, I'm really proud of what we came up for the couchling stuff. And that's a lot of that isn't thanks to Blue and Fume and everyone else that was kind of around when it started going up, because, you know, you guys helped come up with the name. You guys really helped spurt it on. And then you guys got my ideas kind of forming to help me create what I wanted to be the kind of couchling identity. And, you know, it all started with, like, your guys' ideas, and then eventually it became the Patreon and became all this other stuff, you know. I'm super happy with where we've gone. Hopefully we can keep on growing. But I'm super happy with how it's developed and how the style has kind of gotten to the point that it's got to. Yeah, it is kind of crazy in some ways. We get that a lot. And we're glad to have you here with us too. The whole point of the channel is to have like a chill vibe, you know. Like the whole idea is like two guys on a couch enjoying it and then conversing with friends about the dumb stuff that we do. That's one thing that always bothered me about some channels, is they try and overhype stuff to where it feels a little ungenuine. So one of my big inspirations has always been giantbomb.com, and that's always been kind of like where I base my kind of inspiration and temperament for when I first started recording on the channel. Kind of has that same kind of similar vibe where it's like, you know, there's just people hanging out, having a good time, being silly, just like you would if you were hanging out with your friends on like their couch and doing couch co-op stuff. And Chris has very much that same similar vibe. And it doesn't hurt that we've been friends for as long as we have. And hopefully once all this sickness BS stops happening, me and Mike will start recording some of those fighting game series. Because I want to do that with him. It was supposed to premiere this month, but, you know, with everybody getting sick and stuff, it just didn't end up working out. Because one of the things that people have always kind of said for a while is like, how come you and Mike don't record anything? And I know it's been repeated a bunch of times, but just the reason why is just our schedules are too different. He works at nights and I work in the mornings with kids, so like there's never really a time for us to record. But we're going to try and work in some small recording sessions after some our D&D sessions soon, so that way we can have some series with me and him. Because I love playing games with Mike. When we play D&D, like, me and his character are inseparable. So that's why it's so weird that, like, on the channel that he's a part of, like, there's not enough series with me and him in it. It's nice getting in while you're so smart. You would actually chat with you and Chris. I hope that never really changes, though. I think the first one, Kaiser, we're going to play is Killer Instinct when we get a chance. Because Mike knows that game a lot, and I bought it when it was on sale. I like to think that no matter how big we get, there will always still be reachable to a degree. You know what I mean? Especially with the people that have been here since the beginning. They'll always, you know, people that started here from the beginning are always going to be on the forefront of our mind. We won't forget that. And we won't become, you know, completely hidden away in that regard. That just ain't in our personalities. But if I went live, it's like, man, yeah, it would be nice if we could do this as a full-time job. That would be, or at least a part-time job. That'd be rad. But for now, I'm very happy with what we've got. It's more than we could have imagined. And it does help on days when I do get bummed out. It's always nice to hang out with you guys. And continue to kind of do what I do. Yeah, that's looking good. I feel like there needs to be a little bit of dark brown in here, but I'm not sure where. I think it just needs like a pattern. Just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. And it's funny, I'm kind of making some of this up a little bit, but I think that's fine. The whole idea is that it should just give the impression of it. Yeah, I don't think my chill approachableness will ever go away. It's just, it's who I am. It's who I've always been. It's my whole teaching philosophy. I always want to keep teaching too, you know. I like teaching too much to ever fully give it up. Like, I didn't think when I was younger that... I always kind of thought that, like, when I was younger, I might want to, like... I went to church and stuff. At the time when I was religious. I thought about being a pastor, or, like, I always liked characters like Obi-Wan Kenobi and other mentor-like figures. I thought it'd be interesting to be a pastor, but then I kind of... Like, a youth pastor, but I kind of got away from that, especially when I got away from church. And then I kind of stumbled into teaching, and just found I bonded with kids really well. And I just love it. It's just so much fun working with kids. There's a genuineness that comes with them that sometimes you don't get with adults. You always know how kids feel. Even if they're kind of hiding stuff, they're always being honest with you. Sometimes it feels like when you're working with adults, there's a sense of them holding stuff back or not being truthful with you. And it's nice that kids have that level of transparency that sometimes adults don't have. Now, not all adults are like that, but yeah. The church had a Jedi? Yeah, sure. Yeah, it did. I don't know what I had said. I mean, we did fight with lightsabers and stuff. You can feel like that some days. But they honestly make it worth it. Like, when you're feeling sick and, like, when you bond with kids, there's nothing they won't really do for you. Like, they'll always go to the bat for you. At least my students would, you know. I didn't really kind of understand it growing up, but yeah, there's just something about being a teacher. Like, they're your kids, but they're not your kids. It's hard to describe. But yeah, teaching's great. Like, watching your students progress and get better and, like, just become, you know, grow up and become like greater human beings and stuff, and knowing you played a little part in that is super rewarding. Because, like, I've had students that are now graduating high school and they're like, yeah, you were a huge inspiration to me. It's like, and I only was at their school for a couple months. Like, that's huge to me. The fact that, you know, that I was, like, a good influence on someone when they had a tough time. So that means a lot to me. There's a lot of professions in the world. And, you know, I now understand why teaching... It's nice that I can give back. Like the teachers that gave back to me when I was a kid. And to me, that's really cool. But yeah, teaching is also not for everybody. A lot of people get into the profession after going through schooling and just realize, nope, teaching's hard. It's not easy. It's not that teaching the subject is hard. It's dealing with all the emotions of kids and always having to be available to them. You know, that's where it's difficult. The actual teaching of the subject, I don't think, is the hard part about being a teacher. Being there for your students and making the impact on them to be better human beings, that's where it gets difficult. That's where stuff is hard. If that makes sense. Hey, Andre. I like to think that. I try not to let it swell to my head, though. But I do find the best teachers do think about that kind of stuff. Like, they're more interested in about, like, how can I help you as a human being? Not, you know, what's your grade point average? Because there's plenty of people that will be in school and they'll have a terrible grade point average, but then they'll go on to be very successful in life. And it's usually because of the people in their life who still believed in them when they were struggling at the time. And that's also something, like, some teachers tend to forget, too. You always got to keep in mind that if a student's being a jerk, there's usually a good reason for it. The kid's usually just dealing with something that they just don't know how to deal with emotionally, and they're just... School's the only place where they can kind of vent. It's usually not the most productive way, but it's the only way they know how to deal with it. Most of the flats are going to be done on this guy. So I should probably be moving over to a couple of those other characters next. I might do the backgrounds first, though, after this. I'm doing okay, Andre. How about you? I know I'm kind of spamming with the art stuff lately, but like I was saying earlier, I just knew I wanted to work on some art today, even though my head's a little just want to get this stuff done, see what this looks like, because this is kind of the most gratifying. I did all the grunge work, I did all the hard work. Now it's time to finally get the reward stage where it's like, ooh, you know, I get to see this in its full glory. Probably need a little bit of a pattern design here. Yeah. I might keep these light. Well, yeah, I'll keep those light. Oop. Azale's definitely got some of the most detail in it. I mean, the other characters do as well, but I think I'll definitely do the mountains and stuff next. I think I need to get in his other thumb too, though, so I'll just go ahead and ink this in black. It's just representing that. There we go. But yeah, that's starting to bring together a lot more, and like that shadow layer will have to be adjusted a lot too, but it's definitely coming together. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad all you guys are enjoying it, guys. I enjoy having you guys here too. Kind of just keeps me going as we're working through it. That's the idea with this. It's much more of a chill atmosphere. Not going to be a lot of screaming and stuff like that, for sure. Especially me being a tea drinking, sniffling boy right now. But I'm really liking this piece. This is going to be something really cool when it's all said and done. I'm really excited to see the final product. I'm trying to think what left on him needs to be done. Oh, I see it now. I've screamed before while I've worked on art, like when a flash file is just broken on me and I didn't save it, and I have to restart 3 hours of work. I screamed pretty loud that time. I did a fuck! I was pissed. And then I learned, like every RPG, you gotta save all the time. Flash is a notoriously great and broken program all at the same time. I like using Flash, but it crashes still all the time for no reason. Let's add a little bit in here. Such a conflicting program. Like, it's necessary, and I like it. I should probably switch to Toon Boom, but I don't want to pay the money for Toon Boom. I'm already paying the price to have availability for Animate. They're basically the same program, unless you get into like the really fine details. Bada 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 bada. Ooh. Oh, move that and move this. Being yelly like a vlogger amuses me. Yeah, that was the one thing I wanted to avoid being. There's nothing wrong with people that have that, you know, Jacksepticeye kind of approach, but that's just definitely not me. As Chris puts it, like, I'm the straight man in a comedy group. Like, that's typically me. It's not that I can't be funny, but especially when I'm on him, like, playing with him, that's usually my role. As it's always been. I'm usually the guy that's in the background that just, like, has the, like, funky expression that causes our friend Danielle to laugh, especially when we're at D&D. Oh, saves everything, but the trade-off it crashes every 5 minutes. Ooh, what program have you been using, Blue? Top of the morning till your couch lands. Yeah. Like I said, I ain't got no hate for anybody that goes with that approach, but it's definitely not the style of stuff that I like listening to. I prefer much more tempered stuff. It's kind of like with basketball stuff. It took a long time to actually find people that talked about basketball that weren't just like the Stephen A. Smiths or like the ESPNs of the world. Like, that stuff is fine, but like, I just want tempered actual discussions about the NBA, because I like the NBA, but I don't want all the hype media, YouTubiness of that kind of media as well. And luckily the Ringer provides that in a lot of ways. I don't really want to constantly listen to the Shannon Sharps of the world. They're fine human beings, but that kind of content gets annoying after a while. I think I need to make this darker right here. Let's just make this indebted. Though Chris I don't think cares anything about sports balls. Yeah. Oh, Autodesk Sketchbook? Huh. I know that program. I don't think I've ever tried to use it, though. I'd recommend, if you're using drawing programs, maybe Procreate. Are you doing 3D stuff, Blue, or are you just doing regular drawing? Just regular drawing? I'd check out Procreate, dude, and see how much that thing costs. You might want to switch to that. That's probably a better drawing software than Autodesk. I know a lot of artists use that, and a lot of more people are switching to that. Been hearing a lot of good things. I know some people use Corel Painter and stuff like that as well. Okay. Cool, that's still isolated. Looks like that axe is... Did he dye that thing gold? I think he did. No, it's still the black, I think. His screenshots aren't the greatest. That's a Zale. You probably left it normal color. Oh. Need a free thing so I can afford. Well, yeah, then just use that. I think GIMP might be a good thing. GIMP's free. GIMP. Try that out. I know that's like a free Photoshop-ish software, so I would try and do that. Yeah, Toon Boom wasn't really around when I was in school. I don't think it started becoming popular until like 2012 after I graduated college. Yeah, be careful doing it, but GIMP is an art program. But yeah, has like a little weird like dog icon, and it's a free art program. So you might want to check that out. That might be kind of cool for you. Hmm. I'm okay with cutting that out now that I think about that. But do I want to add that in? I'm noticing a detail on the armor that I may have missed. Not this, not that. Nope. Not screenshots. Sale. Sorry, chat's hidden for just a second. I'm trying to look at this thing. That's if it's dyed silver. We entered an animation contest, got last place. Missed like 2 days of school through it. That's cool though. It's nice to try that stuff. I mean, I remember trying out Flash when I was in high school. God, it was bad. I still kind of remember it, but not really. I wish I had that file still somewhere. I would love to see what my first full animation actually looked like. But I don't remember it at all, which is a bummer. I'm like, oh man, I wonder what that train wreck looked like. Because I didn't know anything about Flash. I'm pretty much self-taught on Flash too. I mean, when I was working at GhostBot, I just observed what they were doing and kind of just did it for myself. When I did the Game Grumps animated thing years later, I just saw the way they put together models and how they did the animation and just kind of cross-engineered it. Ah, math. My worst subject. Alright, let's switch to this brush. Oh, that's right. I need to grab all of this if I'm going to do that. Do love animation though. I'm so glad. That's the one thing the channel has been amazing for, is to allow me to do my own animations. I wish I had more time to do art. Really do. Always feels like there's never enough time to do everything that I actually want to do. There we go. Cool. Grab that. And there we go. Huh. He would have a, yeah, cat fit? Probably, yeah. I gotta balance it all out. Yeah, I've always wanted to do animation since I was little. And do voices. So the channel's been kind of like a way of bringing that dream to fruition. I'd always do funny voices, but I would never do them in front of anybody. So it has been very gratifying for so many people to really love my Zote impression. I mean, when I was a kid, I acted in plays and stuff like that, but then I stopped for a long time. Too shy to get on stage for some reason. In another life, I was probably an actor. Some form of a starving artist. Whether I was a musician or an actor, I was always going to end up in art somehow. In the arts. I don't think there's a multiverse version of me that doesn't have some kind of art in them. I don't think it's possible. They'll just all be different forms. Not saying I'd be a great actor, but I can see that as like an alternate possibility for me. Maybe a bit bolder, alternate universe Sam. What about the one who went to math and left art behind? Very unlikely. You're thinking of my brothers. I don't think that would ever be me. And I think if I did, that version of me would probably eventually leave it and be like, I can't stand this. I need to do something creative. Like I would start out in that profession and then I would just leave it at a certain point in time. You'd have to cure me of ADHD or something like that for me to want to do math as a profession. Nice. Yeah, that's looking fucking choice. Alright, I think I need to get in the orange. I guess I could get in a little bit of lighter gray. You did locksmithing? That's cool. I never got to actually take those career quizzes, Val. I always wanted to as a kid. I don't know why. I always thought that'd be a fun, interesting thing to take, but they never offered them at my school. Though I assume I probably would have just gotten art. Like, very likely that just would have been what I ended up getting. Alright, I need to make this a separate flat, because this is going to be... This is going to need to be fleshed out. I always wanted to, because Hey Arnold had that episode, like where they took the personality quizzes with him, Harold, and Helga. I thought that episode was hilarious, so I just wanted to see what I would get. I'd like to be good at lockpicking. I think that'd be a fun skill to have. Though I don't know if I'd have the patience or the wherewithal to eventually do it. Just because it'd be like, but can I draw the locks instead? That might be a better use of my time. And then when I get into a situation where I actually need to pick locks to save my life, then I die. Nice. I think I need to add a little bit more orange. Maybe I'll do some orange back here too. Yeah. There we go. I'll add some black lines and stuff like that to really flesh this out too. It's an interpretation of this weapon. It'll be close enough that people will understand and get it. It's definitely not meant to be an exact representation. That's looking good. What color? There we go. Orange. That way I know where that's coming from. Skyrim University. It's pretty good. Oh, no, there's my shortcut. Probably just a little bit of light in there too. Maybe darken those edges a little bit with the orange, because it's going to get brightened up a little bit and duplicated. And then let's find, where's this? No. Okay, that's separated there. Is it on this? It is. Cool. Let's add a little bit of that. This is where I kind of go in and add a little bit of... I don't do a ton of airbrushing, but I like to add a little bit here and there. That's too much, I think. Same thing with like this. It's one reason why I don't write it off the bat. Separate and stuff like that. It makes it way easier. That way I don't get like pixelization and stuff like that. And just little things like this will kind of add to the overall design once all the shadows and highlights and stuff kind of go into place. I think for the most part Azale is pretty good at the place where he's at. I'll probably want to start moving on to other things. I might do a little brushing on the gold and then we'll do some more of the background stuff. Oh, that's probably another thing to tackle. Gold. Ooh. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Gotta decide if I want to add that little bit of blue from the actual original armor design too. I need to do some work on that shoulder pad a little bit before I move on and before I forget. The great bee of Ronka screes in the corner. That will become a thing. 100% though. Hard to believe it's already been an hour and 40 minutes. Let's see. Yeah, this will be a long one. There we go. Missing a little bit of gold there. His nose needs a little bit. Makotes have a little bit of browns usually on their nose. A little bit of tint. So go ahead and grab one of these brushes. Lower the opacity. Okay, erase that a little bit. Erase that. I need to make this into a soft brush too. There we go. Nose blush. That'll work. Duplicates. Take that off. Now I can take this. Forget that. Take that out. Sorry, I haven't checked chat in a little bit. I'll double check it in a second. But this is one reason why I isolate all those golds. So then I can do a little bit of texture work to really give it a polished look. I'll just pick certain spots. Oh, I don't need this actually. And it just changes it, makes it feel a little bit more gold. Just a little bit. Thanks, Kaiza. Ooh, you got all your retainers 80? Congrats, Val. And then I'll typically do one more as well. That's gonna be, this will be different though. This will be my texture pass. Metal tends to have impurities in it and stuff like that. And one way like I like to represent that is using one of my texture brushes. And I tend to make it subtle. But let's make this normal so I can see it. First I'll do that. Then I'll go ahead and switch to a lighter color, typically keeping it in the same family. But this will just give it a little bit of a slight bit of a texture. Typically set it to like soft light, and then I'll have to lower it a lot, but it makes a difference. Like, just having that layer on, these two layers change it a lot in terms of the gold. I feel like it does a big difference in the overall polished look of it. I think you're gonna like it a lot. It's a lot of fun. And remember, it's one of those MMOs where you can level everything up on a single character. So you don't need to make multiples. It's also a game that is very forgiving in a lot of ways too. Leveling can be really quick too if you focus on just doing your roulettes and stuff like that. That'll make it a lot quicker. Alright, let's find some of my... I need to find some of my references that I took earlier. Ishgard. Horse's butt, horse's butt. There we go. Okay. That works. Okay. I would suggest, yeah, going to Valentar's if you, unless you like, if there's nothing, if nothing else, I would head over to that server. Or at least be in the same data center. So that way, like, Valentara and some of the other people can kind of show you the ropes. I mean, you can be on a different server if you want, but it does help to have people that can help you out, especially when you're just getting used to the beginning of it. I didn't think about that. I need to separate some of the flats on these. We'll do the mountains in the back first instead then. These things are like a dark blue. I think first I need to start off with mostly a soft brush. Oh, I did not lock that layer. That's better. Let's make you guys a dark blue brush. That's better. Just know that if you pick a DPS class, Q times will be a little slow at first. Healers and tanks always have higher Q times like any MMO. But there's still plenty of ways to level a DPS. But if you're experiencing like slower queue times near the beginning, that's probably why. It's not that bad, but you might find yourself waiting a little bit longer. But there's fates and other ways to level, and there's tons of quests, so it'll be beneficial to like hit a quest, like start working on a quest while you're queued up for something, and then just do the queue, like, you know, then get into the dungeon. If you approach it that way, like doing fates and quests while you wait for your queues to pop, you'll never find yourself bored. That's true. Valentara can help with that as well. I'm gonna try some new things with this. I don't know how it'll work. Yeah, I feel like maybe I need to not do it without an opacity. Let's try it that it's just off the cuff regular. Spacing. Yeah, I don't really know how to use this brush. I'm just gonna have to make the patterns on my own. That's okay. I can do it that way too. Yeah, you can't really go wrong with anything. They're all really good. So like I mean, all the classes are super balanced. There's nothing that's going to be non-meta if you care about that stuff. I would test out a couple different classes. I would just go with whatever looks cool to you off the bat. Like, if you think playing with, like, a sword and shield looks cool, try Gladiator first, which becomes Paladin. If you like doing more range spell stuff, do Summoner or Black Mage, which would be Anarchist to start off with. Arcanist is a really cool class to start off with because it's the only class like it in the game, but if you level it up, it levels up both eventually a healer and a DPS. So it lets you be you eventually branches off into Scholar and Summoner as an Anarchist. So it's like got a double benefit. So you level up 2 jobs at once. And it's the only job like that because at the time they were implementing the classes in a weird way and trying to like deal with some archaic stuff from the original version of 1.0. And they thought they were going to have like multiple branching classes, and they just eventually decided that it wasn't unique enough. So they've done a lot to make those 2 unique from each other, but it's one of those old remnants of that system. Just remember, some classes like Dark Knight and stuff, you won't be able to unlock until you get to that expansion when they first bring it out. But the nice thing about it is they start at a higher level than the original starting class jobs. So you may not be able to get it till Heaven's Word, but you'll when you do get it, it's going to be a lot higher of a level. So it'll start off at like level 30 instead of starting at level 1, which is beneficial in the long run. And they do that for a lot of it. Like, and when you finally can get Red Mage in Stormblood, it starts off at level 50, I think. Stuff like that. Let's work on this first instead. This thing is kind of a lighter blue. Oh. There we go. Get out of here. Oop. There we go. Ew, no. No. This. Sure, let's try this brush. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. Eventually you'll be able to play as leveling up multiple classes is also not hard too. Eventually it just becomes a nice casual thing. Leveling up multiple classes is one of the fun things about that game. It's not as daunting as it sounds, especially not once you're at the higher levels and stuff like that. Maybe I can make the scattering a little bit more on this. Let's see. Scattering, brush settings. Crafting gathering's fun too. I do a little bit of everything, honestly. I think I want a different brush now. Maybe something like this. I like doing a little bit of everything. I level up everything, honestly. Wow, that tea is still hotter than I thought it would be. Wow, that thermos is good. Too good. Burnt my tongue a little. Definitely need to isolate some of this stuff. But this is probably the way to go. Probably needs to be scattered a bit more. Scatter. Get a little bit more variety. Let's go ahead and throw in a little bit of white in there. But yeah, 14 is a very rewarding MMO too. I like it a lot. It's a great single player game too if you want it to be. The MMO aspects are what make me stay, but it's still nice that that can be an aspect if wanted. That you don't always feel like you had to party up to do stuff. Because I know that in 11 that was a big thing, and as much as I like that, it would at times make it a very difficult game to play or unplayable if you didn't have people at the time. Switch to this. Too much. There we go. Nice. Yeah, I pretty much have everything maxed. I pretty much always do. You get AI help later on in the game, but it also depends on what level you're at, Blue. It gets better over time. And I like partying up with people too. It's just, you know, sometimes it's a mixed bag. Alright, let's take off these characters because I need to paint in some snow here. And for the harder content, you can't. You have to do it with people. But that's not a bad thing. There's a lot of reward in doing it with other people. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Ew, wrong layer. There we go. The community aspect is what makes that game thrive for me. It's the thing that keeps me going. I've had a core group of friends through that game for a long time. Oh, that's too big. Aww. Okay. Yeah, I usually interact with other people. Oh. Be around mid-50s and arcs. Yeah, but then I have to actually interact with other people. That's true. You do. You do have to interact with other people in an MMO. It can be kind of daunting. I can understand that. Around when Shadowbringers comes out, or once you get to Shadowbringers at 70, all the dungeons give you the option of doing it with AI partners. So that is an option. And technically you can level up your squadron through GCs at like level 50-ish and start doing dungeons with them, but it's just not experience. It just is not efficient. They're not that smart. And it's better to just do it through queue finders and stuff like that. Switch to... Oh, that's my rose brush. This is what I want. Why do I hear a doorbell? Who's coming over? Yeah, maybe Jen and them are expecting company. Need a darker color for this. There we go. Either that, nope. That's like the second time. That means someone from like the local church is probably bugging us at late o'clock. There we go. That's better-ish. Late o'clock, yeah. Are you able to do quests with strangers? Does it need to be with a party of friends? You can do it with strangers. There's a queue finder system. Very similar, I think, to WoW. Quests are usually solo, though, but dungeons and stuff and things where you group up are done in a group. And the game will automatically find that for you The game will make some of that easier on you. Let's see, the snow should probably not be pure white. Let's make it... There we go. There we go. Pour some tea out, let that cool off. We already have Girl Scout cookies, though. So, I don't know. Turn off Screeby for a second. Or maybe I'll put him behind here. There we go. Let's see. Let's do that foreground. Okay. I wish I had Girl Scout cookies. They sound delicious. I'd be down for some Girl Scout cookies. Yep, not that. Turn that on. Turn that lower. Alright, flats. Get that mountain stone color going on. Zoom. How much of this can I grab? That's inks. No. Okay. Ooh, I can grab a lot. I can grab a lot more than I thought. Nice. Nope. You know what? Some of this is actually red there, so let's start off with making this red. Not all of it, mind you, but some of it. A little bit of Dalamud that fell. That's better. Oh, just the very thing I was talking about last time. Doesn't hit all those corners. I don't know why I'm getting a strange craving for pizza right now. Maybe they're making something that has like pasta. Something's got my nose a tingling though. I'm probably gonna work on this for a while tonight, so might have to split the stream up in a little bit. Girl Scouts exist here, so Girl Scouts don't exist. Jeez. What's your Girl Scout cookie of choice? Any cookie? I don't think I have a specific one. All Girl Scout cookies are pretty good. I'm not someone that has like a favorite. Like Jen's favorites from what I can think are the mint ones, the chocolate mint. I'll eat any cookie. Someone gives me a cookie, I'll eat it. It's one reason why I don't buy cookies, because I can't trust myself. That's the only way I could get fit and get thin, was I had to take cookies out of my diet and stuff like that. Because I don't have self-control when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I had to cut that stuff out of my diet, which I'm fine with. I'll still have it every now and then. But I can't like buy a package of Oreos and be like, I'll eat one. It's like, no, I'll eat the whole tray in like 2 nights, and then I'll feel sick to my stomach. That's like when I buy ice cream, I buy like the little Halo ice creams that are like 300 calories, because those won't kill me. And they're just like small enough that like once I finish it off, I won't be able to immediately have something else again. That's good. Just enough to indicate that there's some of Dalamud. I don't want to have too much going on here. Oh. That's good. Have been decimated as foretold by the scouts of old. Yep. It's probably for the best. Probably for the best, Kaiser. Those Girl Scouts knew what was coming. Flooded the market with their product. Then when the Boy Scouts came and surmounted their dominance, it became a war of the ages. No one survived, though. It was a brutal battle. Cookies everywhere. Cups of milk lost. Children wondering why they were doing this. Scout leaders determined for revenge, looking to find the conspiracy behind all of it. It's brutal. Brutal stuff. Zoom. There we go. Nice. Turf war with the Keebler Elves. God, now I'm hungry. Canada has Girl Guides, and I have never seen them selling cookies. Huh. Probably because they're above that. They're on the real secret stuff. They're selling drugs, selling pot. They're committing crimes. That's how they keep themselves funded. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. Bring that in there. Oh, I'm missing that. I actually kind of like kettle corn. I don't hate it. I won't eat a ton of it, but if someone offers me a little bit of kettle corn, I'll eat it. But I can only have like maybe a handful or two. When we split this up, I'll probably go make myself some popcorn before I get back on here and start working on it some more. Let's isolate that. Let's make this slightly darker just to show some difference. Do. Get that in there. There we go. Might actually want to put some of these as... That's good. Now I just need to have a little bit underneath here. Ooh, should I make that... Interesting. Huh. Back alley selling meth. You got it. That's what they've really been doing. You thought they were sweet, innocent children. Lies. Lies, lies, lies. All about that cocaine. Greg was their dealer too. I always knew that was a bad seed. Alright, let's try something. Eh. Actually, yeah, I kind of like that. Yeah, I actually like that. Nope, not that one though. Yeah, there we go. Select inverse. Let's get some bright reds in there. And some dark reds in there. And more. A little bit of that. And then sorry, I'll check chat in a second. I saw something about Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is an amazing creature who should be praised among the stars. But I'm sure he's responsible for the Girl Scout cookie drug ring. That seems like some kind of scheme that he would come up with. Fucking degenerate. I love Greg. It's funny. I don't actually like Hildebrand that much, but I love Gilgamesh. But the reason why I don't like Hildebrand is not because Hildebrand is bad, but he reminds me of the Monk Mentor, and I hate the Monk Mentor. I hate him so much, and they have the same character model. Wilgeberferger, or whatever. Hate that guy. Worst Monk Mentor ever. Alright. So every time I get the, like, for a while I never even did like the Hildebrand storyline for Heaven's Word. Because there was no Gilgamesh in it. And then I got, and then I finally eventually did them, and they were worth it. But I just kind of held out. I was like, I'll get to it eventually. Which I know is blasphemous. Almost everybody universally loves Hildebrand, and I'm like the one curmudgeon that doesn't. The Stormblood trial was great, and I'm trying not to say any spoilers, so when Kaiza eventually gets to stuff, they can experience it, because the Hildebrand stuff is 100% worth doing. Hildebrand is one of the best parts about 14. Okay, let's grab this, and let's go ahead. It's a quick quest line that starts popping up at post 50, and they're just the most trolly quest possible, but yet still have lore. It's worth doing. They're so much fun, and they have some of the best fights that you get unlocked through them. It's very much worth the time put in to do them, and they're not hard either. I really should drink some of my tea. No, you're good. Hildebrand is a character. I love Godbert, though. The Moogle delivery quest. Yeah. Hildebrand's great. Hildebrand's very much Konosuba for Final Fantasy XIV. It's very off the wall stuff. It's great. They do a lot of fun stuff with the animation that you won't see in the main scenario of that game. But Hildebrand's an optional questline stuff that pops up around level 50. If you ever get back into 14 Blue, you should definitely do it. That's one of the highlights. it's definitely a it's a must do for people that play that game. I think you're missing out a big portion if you don't play them, or at least try at least one of them. The fights are rad. Okay. Oh, I can do this a lot easier. Adjust. There we go. Image adjustment. Then I'll just remake this. It's pure white. Ooh. And then bring that up. Ew. That's better. Select inverse. Bring a bit of that out. No more up here. Definitely more here. Nice, that's coming together. Maybe I do want that behind that. Let's grab this. A lot of this will have to be adjusted over time too. There we go. Just enough to change the line. Because the idea with the background is you want it to be present, and since I'm not doing like a painted animation style, which is a little out of my wheelhouse anyways, it's kind of about, I still want to have that line work there that I put in to give that form, but still kind of keep it separated because it's not the forefront of what I'm going for. What are we at? 2 hours and 43 minutes? Not bad. I get that, dude. I totally get that with the muns. Muns are hard. Honestly, Kaisa, I like drawing everything. There's not anything specifically that I love drawing more than something else. I like drawing robots, I like drawing cars, I like drawing buildings, I like drawing landscapes, I like drawing soldiers, I like drawing dragons. I think the only thing that I don't like drawing is I don't like drawing realistically. To me, that's boring. I can take a photograph. Now, I have a lot of respect for people that can draw hyper realistically. I think it's really impressive. And it's not really a skill I've ever developed, so I'm also not that good at it. But I think the thing that interests me the most in terms of drawing is just making sure that it's pushed, that it's dynamic, that it's animated, that there's expression to it. That's what I'm going for. Anything, my favorite thing to draw is anything that has a story to it for the most part. Yeah, I like drawing everything. I don't have like a set thing that I like drawing more than anything else. Like I love drawing the couchlings. I love drawing hyper detailed stuff like this. I'd say yeah, the only thing that I don't enjoy drawing is realistic. That's really it. That's the only thing where I'm like, not much of a fan. I'm gonna title this some background. This is foreground 2. But yeah, that's honestly, that's about it. Honestly, like yeah, I like drawing anything. It's a question I get a lot. It seems to always be my answer. Back when I was younger, I would have said like drawing Dragon Ball Z or Sonic the Hedgehog or stuff like that. I think that would have been my answer back then, is that kind of stuff. Like I really like drawing characters, but as I've gotten older, I've really developed the philosophy of like, man, I want to be good at drawing. I want to be good at drawing everything. I really started admiring comic book artists and stuff, especially in college, and really wanted to. I was always impressed by the fact that like Sean Murphy, he can draw anything. Like it doesn't matter what someone gives him. Like yeah, it's always in his style, but he can draw anything, and I found that super impressive. Part of my problem is that I like to draw everything, and I have two different styles. I have like 3 different styles. I have like this. I have like the couchling kind of design stuff, which is kind of like this. It's not too far away. And then I have my children's storybook style. Like I like drawing, and I have like kind of like 2 distinct styles or like 3 distinct styles that I can do, which hurts my ability, my whatever, that word I'm going for. But yeah, I draw a little bit of everything. That's kind of my dealio. I picked a lot of that up from some of my mentors that I had in school too. They're very much the same philosophy. Because at the end of the day, I like telling stories. And looking for ways to do that. And man, this is looking fun. I'm really liking this. This is turning out great. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or anything. I'm just really happy with how this is turning out so far. Get a little more texture in there. Turn that into, ooh, yeah. That's what I want. Okay. And then probably a blackish color there. Oh, not that. Actually, maybe a little bit lighter. I'll have to go darker in a little bit, but let's do this first. Because this will have some effects and stuff too, as well. There we go. Did I not cut the... Oh, no, because it's behind. That's why there's no... Okay. Yeah. I was like, wait a minute, why didn't I not do that? I hope that answers the question, Kaiza. I mean, I know it's kind of a non-answer, but that honestly is like, that's kind of how I approach it. It's one thing I stress with my students too. I'm always trying to get them to draw more than just one thing, and not because like them sticking to one thing is bad or anything like that. It's just, it does help. Like, if you want to be a professional, you do have to be like, you never know what someone's going to need you to draw. So you do need to be flexible in that regard and be able to draw whatever they need you to do. Especially if you want to be like a comic book artist or an illustrator. Animator's a little different. Animator, you kind of just really need to know how to... There's probably like 3 things you need to know how to draw. You need to know how to draw like the human figure for animation, and animals and human figure if you're going to be an animator. Now there's special effects artists too, so that's a little different. Like SFX animators, that's a different bag. But for like traditional animators, it's mostly just knowing how to draw humans and stuff like that. You don't really have to get too far out from that. You don't have to learn a lot of background work and illustrative work and stuff like that. You don't have to learn how to draw mountains and all that stuff if you don't want to. A lot of animators will. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense why Red Mage was my class in Final Fantasy XI. Kind of the jack of all trades. I would like to be a master in something. I like to be a master illustrator in a sense, but I mean, it's in my style. The master of my style is more so than anything. And like I said the other night, I'm really proud of where I've gone as an illustrator, because I wouldn't have been able to do this a couple of years ago. I'm finally at the level where I feel like, okay, I've really gotten to that point, like where I can do anything now. And it's taken a couple of years to get there, but it's nice that I've finally gotten to that point, because it took a long time to get here. And sometimes I didn't know if I was going to. But it's really nice that I finally kind of have hit that. I don't want to say zenith, because I haven't hit the zenith of it yet. But it's really nice that I've kind of finally... I've cemented a lot of what I consider I want to do. I think the next thing is learning how to paint backgrounds better. Yeah, in the next 10 years I want to be better at painting and sculpting. So that'll be interesting, because animating will just come in hand. Like, I know I'm going to animate something this year. I mean, I've animated a bunch of stuff, but I mean, there's something specifically I want to animate that I know I'm going to. It just comes down to just doing it, which I will. But there's a couple things I have to finish first. I want to finish that hijinks thing project first, which I aim to finish that by... That should be all wrapped up and done, like I said, by June. No, sooner than June. Getting sick has kind of thrown me off a little bit. But ideally, I finish that project by... What am I thinking? It's March. Finished by April. Finished by April, or finished by... Definitely May. It'll be done by May and start being sent out over the summer to studios. For sure. I'd like to have it done sooner then, but it's going to be a product that I'm going to be selling as well, and it's going to have at least 20 illustrations, all the character designs, lore on the world that I created. It's like, it'll be a concept art book, basically. And it won't be too expensive, too. It'll only be like 20 bucks or something like that, and you'll be able to order it off Lulu when I'm all said and done. But I want to put that together and kind of get that out there. And it's a what if. It's like, if I was ever able to make my own animated series, that's what I would make it off. Like, that hijinks concept, because I really enjoy it. So I've done about 5 of the illustrations for the book so far. And it's just re-illustrating the stuff from Inktober. So I'm thinking probably April. It should be done by then. I've mostly just been waiting to get over this stupid... Getting over being sick. Being sick has thrown a lot of it off. But I mean, that's life. Life always gets in the way. Gotta find a way to get past it. It's more so that re-illustrating that stuff takes a lot more time than I thought it was going to. But I did tackle some of the more advanced ones. And since I know what I'm gonna do with them, the other ones won't take as long. Some of them will, like there's a couple that are gonna be a bit daunting, like doing the Yeti's shop and Medusa's shop. But overall, I think I found a design, not a design, but a path to completion for that stuff. That should work out nicely. Because those have been fun. I'm talking about those. I should show those really quick. File Explorer. Desktop. Where is it? So... yeah. So it's about these two characters called Gob and Yenzen. And there's going to be like 20 or so illustrations in there along with the different character designs. Ooh, once that loads up. There we go. And re-illustrating those. Because like they originally start off as Inktober's and whatnot. So some of them have to be redrawn and re-illustrated and stuff like that. Some will be complex and some of them won't. And I'm going to pick like the 20 that I really, really like and kind of throw those into the book. And they're all going to be tied in with the map and stuff like that. So it's going to be a lot of fun once it's all done in there. And it'll be a really nice, good pitch book when all is said and done. I was originally going to reuse the regular inks, but it's just not it's not the quality that I wanted. So like, where is it? This is the original one from Inktober. And then I went and re-illustrated it through Photoshop and stuff to really kind of boom. No, you're fine, Valentara. And going over and re-illustrating them so that they're more professionally grade, like something you could see in an animated series and stuff like that. I mean, it took a while to kind of figure out some of them, but most of these came together pretty quickly. It's just the map that has taken me a while, and it's almost done, but re-illustrating the map was kind of difficult. Yeah, and there's a ton of characters too. Like, I want to try and feature all these different characters, and they'll all be in the book. They won't be separated like this. This is an Instagram post that I've separated to eventually start posting on Insta. They'll have different names and bios and stuff in the book that'll get sold and stuff like that. Like, a majority of the work is done. It'll just be, once I finish the illustrations, it'll just be putting the book together and double checking stuff. But probably like a 60-page art book or something like that. I love the Yeti design, yeah, too. He's one of my favorite. It's all based on mythology and, you know, different characters. Like I said, I grew up loving monsters, but I always loved cartoony monsters. So, you know, it's just taking that concept and going, you know, to fruition with it. So I'll probably use InDesign or something like that, and eventually it'll be like, the idea behind it is you'll have like descriptions of characters and stuff like that, and like the opening of the book will be like the map of the area with the world that they live in, and then it'll kind of flip through as you're going, like, oh, it'll be talk about Gobwell Citadel, and like then there'll be a little bit of lore bio, like a paragraph or two, and then there'll be like an illustration or two that shows like different area, like different things in that part of this place. Then you'll flip to another part of the map and it'll be like Clockwork Kingdom, and then you'll get an illustration of Clockwork Kingdom with it and giving lore, and then Azal's Cauldron and Valethar and Bactos Mines and Otan Desert, the Sahagan Reach, you know, Sharkbite Port, stuff like that. So like there'll be different illustrations for each one of those areas, and then there'll be concept stuff thrown into the back of it. And most of it's, you know, and I'm having a lot of fun with that concept. It'll be cool to have like an art book full of that stuff that I can kind of send to companies and stuff like that and be like, hey man, I can do stuff. I'll probably make an animatic too at some point, but that's the goal for that right now. Like a 3-minute animatic of like a story with those characters. That obviously won't be able to be in the art book, but that's the idea. I created those characters a long time ago. They used to be on my business card for a long time, and everyone's always really liked them. So a few years ago, I just decided to design them again. And then I redesigned them last year and kind of cleaned it up to like the level of like a professional show quality. So hopefully that'll lead to hopefully more projects and stuff like that that I can be a part of, because that'd be fun. And if not, it'll be a cool art book that I made. And I'm fine with it just being that too. 3 hours? Okay. We're not stopping, but in a little bit here we might take a 15-minute break. And I'll restart the stream. I'll get a snack, use the restroom, and then I'll kind of come back and keep working on this for a little bit longer. So I would like to get more done on this piece. So once it gets over 4 hours, Chris can't edit it anymore. So he can't chop out that beginning portion, and he can't chop out, he can't edit any segments on YouTube. Because the way that we handle this stuff is we port it directly from Twitch. So that way we save on bandwidth and stuff like that. So if it's over 4 hours, he can't edit it anymore, which is a huge problem. I'll finish adding in this snow, and then we'll go on a break in about like... Once I finish this part, then we'll go on like a decent break, and then I'll come back and I'll work on this for a while. Again. With you guys. Because I'm not tired yet. I can see myself working on this for another couple hours. There we go. Yeah. It's just size limitations. It has to do with YouTube's editor. I don't know. There's probably a reason for it, but I'm not on the YouTube programming team, so I'm not sure why. That's the thing. The giant is blocking that. So am I... This is just all snow then. I don't know why there's that limitation, honestly. But yeah, I guess it just has to do with something on there. And ooh, That's not what I wanted to do. Probably because like the video editing software can only handle so much of when it's transferred over the internet for them to edit. Because I mean, a lot of that software stuff is really intensive even on your own computer when its videos are that long. So I imagine that's just the most that it can handle. Probably just gets too unreliable and too unstable at a certain point, so they have to cut it. Just understandable. There's probably just so much of a limit when you're not working directly on the machines. Okay. Grab this. And do that. Cool. Cool. This. Let's go ahead and turn off that so I can isolate some of this stuff. Switch this to black. Nope. Just so I can isolate some of this stuff. You can't see it, but can you? No, good. You won't be able to see it. Okay. Perfect. That's another Illustrator trick too, is just isolating some of that stuff. If someone doesn't see it, there's no point of putting in all that like crazy extra detail. I think I'll make that snow as well. I'm not sure if any of that's going to get seen, but it might. Alright. Let's take a break. And we'll come back for another session, just so I can split this up. For the people that are watching the VOD, if you tuned in for this whole thing, thank you so much. Get ready for another part of this illustration, because it's always going to take longer than I always think it's going to. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us. Hope you have a good night. For those of you that are sticking around for part 2 of tonight's session, I will see you guys in a little bit. 30-minute break for those of you that are sticking around. Alright, I'll catch you guys later. Beep, bop.